Pesach 2016, here we come. Who would like to start our first question? Angie, you have the letter A in your name. Why don't you go first?
Sure. When and what is Shabbat HaGadol? And that is the Shabbat before Pesach begins. And the things, I guess it emerged as an honoring of the idea that on the 10th of Nisan, there's a slaughter, there's the offering of the lamb. And the things that are special about it is there's a Haftarah portion where the book of Malachi is read, and there's some reading done from the Haggadah. And traditionally, a scholar gives a talk about the laws of Passover, the holiday in general, and kind of begins to prepare us for the holiday.
Great. Excellent. And you want the next one?
Sure. What happens the night before Pesach? Aside from a lot of last-minute preparations and anxieties, there is the ritual searching for chametz, b'dikat chametz.
Does that bring back memories? Such good memories. B'dikat chametz.
Wistful ones, yes.
That's so fun. And what does that look like? B'dikat chametz.
It looks like people carrying a flashlight or a candle and a feather and a wooden spoon and a bag, going around their house searching for 10 pre-placed pieces of bread, which they then sweep into a paper bag and set aside to be burned the next day.
Great, and we're looking for those 10 pieces, but really we're looking for what?
We're looking for any chametz that might have been left behind.
Exactly, but why do we place the 10 pieces?
Because you're making a blessing, and if you happen to have done such a great job preparing your house for Passover and there's no leavened products to be found, you don't want to have made an erroneous blessing. So we place those just in case.
Excellent, excellent. That was a tough one. That was not part of the assignment. Good for you. So I don't know if you caught all that, but the reason why I was pushing Ben is because many people think that we do the checking, they do the b'dikas chametz for the 10 pieces of Cheerios. I don't like to use bread. I like to use Cheerios because Cheerios are self-contained and they don't like get crummy, and like get crumbs all over the place. Just keep things self-contained. It's very simple. Okay, so so people think that we just go out searching for those 10 pieces. But really, the 10 pieces are there only so that we find something. We're really supposed to look for the chametz. And likely, you've been cleaning your house for extensively beforehand to make sure you're rid of all of your chametz, that you won't find anything. So instead of not finding anything because you're making a blessing about finding the chametz, then you should put the 10 pieces out. It's a great game to play with kids, but really do be sure that, God willing, one of you goes with the kids to know where they hid the Cheerios. Otherwise, it'll be a very late night. So make sure you know where the Cheerios are. It's very important. Otherwise, if you need to, you can write them down on a piece of paper afterwards to know, look behind the, in the bookshelf or under the cabinet or something. This way you know where it is. Okay, let's keep rolling. Who is next? I think that's Damien and Limor.
So wait, sorry. Before we answer the question, can I ask a couple quick questions?
Please.
Because I'm going to confess to the class, I had like a really super hard time with kind of like focus this week because it felt like a lot of pages for reading, and like that's totally not a problem, but I was just kind of wondering from everyone else who's doing it like as a couple, are you reading it to each other? Are you reading it on your own? Like kind of like just trying to figure out what's like what works for other people.
Great question. Thanks for stopping us to check in with others. So what are some of your practices as a couple when you do these questions and the reading assignments? And no judgments from me, by the way. So I prefer the honesty with each other. You know, you don't have to worry about, you know, like, oh my goodness, what am I going to say in front of the rabbi? It's okay.
So, oh.
Go for it, Marvi.
Oh, so with me and Jason, I usually do kind of the initial reading and talk through any questions I have with him, and then he kind of does like additional research, like if he doesn't understand what we're talking about, or if I have more questions. And then when we go through and do the questions, some we do together, some we kind of split up, but then talk over what we did. So it's kind of like I do most of the reading, to be honest, but we kind of work on the questions together. I do some, he does some, but then we like hash them out together, so we're both getting the info.
Anyone else?
Zayton. I think it's also important to note that there's other sources outside of the books that you can go and find information at. Like, I've really enjoyed or liked using Chabad.org. I think that one seems to be a good, credible source. Some of the responses are very long, so they're not, you know, if you're looking for an answer to a specific question, they might give you a whole chapter or something on it, so you kind of have to dig in and figure out where exactly the answer is. But it's pretty much, you know, a really good go-to guidebook online for stuff. There's a lot of other ones. I think Wikipedia also has, you know, has its own, you know, level of credibility, but it's not necessarily the most credible. But if you wanted to get like a general idea of, you know, a specific concept or something like that, Wikipedia would be good. It's, you know, we obviously, you know, we read the books, but we also, you know, are not always together. So if someone has the book, then the other person kind of uses the internet at their disposal.
I totally support internet use. In fact, the books that I assign, you will very likely not get all the answers to all of my questions from the books. My questions are far more comprehensive than the books will often give. So you need to find another source. So checking out websites are important, and finding ones that are reliable and that are orthodox, and specifically modern orthodox, is ideal. Anyone else want to give one more approach before we move on?
I'll also say there are definitely some questions in units, I don't remember for this one, where the answer is not very straightforward, and even doing the background reading and sources online and asking people, there's still not a straightforward answer. So,
and that's why there's class, right? That's why you have a rabbi.
That's why we're here, and it's important to like not beat yourself up over it, because it's there's some really challenging questions in there that are meant to be that way.
Yeah.
And I used to push give oh, I have to get every question exactly right, and now it's much easier to say, well, if I don't get it right, we'll talk about it. So that's comfort.
Please, yes. Please don't see these questions as like your entire life hanging in the balance. I see these questions as a replacement for day school education. Honestly, it's an important framing. I don't know if we ever had this conversation before, but I don't see these questions as things that if you don't know, then you can't convert. Definitely not. I do see these questions as saying you want to integrate yourself into an Orthodox community in which many people have already gone to Orthodox day schools, or if they didn't, they have acquired the knowledge. All of this is basic literacy for the Orthodox community. So if you are going to integrate yourself into an Orthodox community, I want to give you all the tools to know. Does that mean you can't convert if you don't know question 47 on unit number 12? Of course you can. That's not relevant to like a conversion. But the goal is, if you want to integrate, then knowing all these things is important, because we use the term Shabbos HaGadol. That's a phrase that people know in the Orthodox community. So I want you to know it too, and that's why we have it here. It's more to replace the education that you may not have had growing up as a kid. That's all it is. So don't make it more than it is, and don't stress out about it more than you should. Now be a little stressed. I mean, come to class prepared. I don't want to take away all of it. Yeah. Do be prepared. But thank you, Lemore.
Right. Thank you guys.
So we looked for this one and we couldn't get a clear answer, which is good feedback from what everyone was saying. But I think the main thing is if you're going away and you're going to be gone for the entire Pesach, you need to still coordinate with your rabbi or someone to sell your chametz.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you have anything else?
And then,
I guess our main question is, we didn't find the answers. Is it specific that you would still follow all the preparatory things that you would normally do if you were going to be home, or are you resolved of that? And that was not clear to me.
So a common practice is that if you're going away for all of Pesach, which is something that people do, I think it's kind of insane because these programs are so expensive. But it gives you the fact that people will spend the money to go away for Pesach, thousands and thousands of dollars to go away for Pesach, tells you of the stress they want to avoid of what Pesach brings, which is pretty tremendous. So, it doesn't have to be like that, Rebecca tells me, but it is for many people. My mom is going crazy with my dad. She is, because my dad is like a countdown watch to Pesach. And he's always saying, but we have, after Purim it happens. Because after Purim, you have a month to Pesach. It's a month before Pesach. It's 3.5 weeks before Pesach. It's 2.5 weeks before Pesach. Pesach is coming. And my mom was like, I know Pesach is coming. You're like the Pesach counter. I know. So it's very funny that they have this back and forth. But anyway, to answer the question directly, so if you're going away for all of Pesach, then you can sell your chametz. You clean up one room to check it, and that's usually the common practice. Now, I think it's important to get rid of real chametz, so you shouldn't have like real chametz. You shouldn't have like loaves of bread in your freezer or boxes of Cheerios in your cabinet. But in theory, if you had that, there are many opinions go by the selling really works. So you sell your chametz, you check the night before you leave. So if you're leaving, let's say Wednesday this year, the night before you leave, Tuesday night you check without a bracha, one room in the house, and then you get to go away, and you come back after Pesach, and the rabbi bought back the chametz, and everything is fine.
That's what we understood, and I was thinking that seems just a little counterintuitive to the idea of what you're trying to accomplish. But
you mean like the spiritual side?
Well, going through the whole process for your home is it seems like it's a way to not do a spring cleaning, but clean your house, take everything out for the spiritual reasons, but also, just to go away seems like you're avoiding doing that, and I don't know if that's...
And that is what people do because they really don't want to, and they'll spend thousands of dollars doing it. I'm with you. Listen, I think it's beautiful. If to stay home with your family in your house and go through that process, yeah, it's the way to go. But what if you're only going away for the first 2 days but returning? This is very common, right? People go to their parents' homes, so they go to their parents, but they come back for Chol Hamoed. So now what? What do you have to do? Does the same thing work for you there? So,
actually, I have a question real quick.
Please,
Can I ask a question real quick? So I have a question. So if you're going away for all of Pesach, do you still have to do, say you're going to one of the hotels or something, do you still have to do this search for chametz at the hotel?
Good question. So you do it the night before at your room, and then, yes, you do it in the hotel that you're in.
Okay.
Good question. And what? So, Limor, do you want to do the next one? Question number 4.
I definitely can do my best. These two were our hardest ones on this page, but
It figures, and it's Murphy's Law. That's the one. That's the one that you get. But Eitan, why don't you save Limor?
We had a nice ease into it, so it's fine.
Can
Eitan?
you hear me? Sorry, I'm on an iPad today, and I'm not showing my screen because it's like a little choppy. Can you hear me?
That's okay. I can hear you. Go for it.
All right, cool. So if you're only going away for the first 2 days, but returning for Kol HaMoed, you must clean your home and make it chametz free, and do the search for chametz the night before you leave. If this is before the conventional time for the search, like the night before Passover or the first day, or if the first day of Passover falls on Sunday, then like the Thursday beforehand, you would do that without reciting the blessing.
Exactly. So essentially, if you're coming back on Pesach at any time, then it's as if you've never left. And you have to have your whole house clean and prepared and sold and checked and whatnot. Excellent. Okay, do you want to go back? Should we go back to you, Limor, on the next one?
Sure. So
What happens in the morning?
yeah,
before
so
Pesach?
you would finish up whatever you're going to eat of your chametz, and then by the 5th hour you would burn whatever was left, get rid of the rest of it, and am I doing the day of Erev Pesach or the day before? Am I like confusing the two?
No, you're good. This is Erev Pesach. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
And we go, yeah, we stop eating in the morning, and then we go burn the chametz in the morning, and then...
And then,
She's reading my handwriting. It's terrible.
And then we prepare, and that's it. And then we prepare for the Seder.
all chametz utensils and chametz are sold away and cleaned.
We don't sell the utensils itself, but we sell the any food products that we might have, but not the utensils itself. Okay, the next one.
Rabbi, I thought you were going to add this part because I thought you really liked it. The like declaration of any chametz that you are unaware
Oh,
of.
yes. Thank you. I need to add that. Do I not have it somewhere else?
Yeah, you do.
I do have it somewhere else.
Oh, okay. Okay, never mind then.
But nice thinking, though, Greg. We are up to Elena and David.
So why is the firstborn sons required to fast on Erev Pesach? Because it was found in the Talmud, right? In its rule from Talmud. It's not one question, sorry. I don't know, because it's rule in Talmud. I don't know.
Yes, that is totally correct. It is a rule in the Talmud, and that is generally that's always a good go-to, by the way. The Talmud says so. You're more often than not, you're probably right. But why does the Talmud say so? Like, what's the relevance of the firstborn sons fasting on Erev Pesach?
Because they were passed over by the angel of death.
Exactly, right? Because the Egyptian firstborns were killed, but the Jewish firstborns were saved. So the Jewish firstborns really, we got saved by a hair. So we're very lucky, and we shouldn't take that for granted, and we ought to fast to commemorate that time when the firstborns Jews were almost struck down and killed.
Okay.
So David, what's a common way out of fasting?
David not here now, so can you ask him in a few minutes?
Sure. Emily?
Thank you.
You want me to answer that question or the first, about how to get out of it?
Yes.
Okay. I read about this earlier. There's like some kind of simcha that a rabbi can host, and you're not allowed to fast within that given context, and that makes it null and void. But I forget the specific word used. It's
Anyone
not a
know
simcha exactly?
Anyone know what word is you're talking about?
A siyum?
Siyum, exactly. A siyum. And what is a siyum?
It's when you complete a portion of the study, isn't it? I think.
Of a particular book. So many rabbis finish a tractate of Talmud, or in theory, if you learn a whole book of the Bible with commentary, or a whole order of Mishnah, of Mishnayot, if you learn any of these things, then you have to celebrate. You have to have a party. And at parties, we eat. We're Jews. We eat at parties. And if you're attending a party, then you have to eat. And since this fast is a relatively minor fast, it's the smallest fast that we have, you could attend a party and then be forced to eat, and you're done, and you're out. It's amazing. How many firstborns do we have here?
Does it only apply to men?
No, there's a discussion about whether it applies to women, actually.
Oh.
But most people think it applies only to men. But if you are a firstborn woman, raise your hand too. Any firstborn women or men? There's no one? Come on, there's no firstborns? Wow.
They're raising,
wait.
they're raising their hands.
I see some hands.
Oh,
raising
Damien
their
anymore? Who else? I didn't see anyone else.
Jackie.
Oh, Emily. Okay.
Jackie as well.
Jackie as well.
I'd have a question on that, if I can.
Yes.
So if my father had a son from his first marriage, and I'm the firstborn with my mom and my dad, would I still be the firstborn son, or would I still be the secondborn?
It goes by the mother.
So I would be the firstborn.
I'm pretty sure it goes by the mother. I'm pretty sure it goes by the mother. I'm not mistaken.
But he has an older sister. Would he still be
That's
like?
the
Oh,
first one now.
Rebecca's saying that I'm wrong. Is someone else saying I'm wrong too? I don't remember. I thought it was another, because I thought it was the same laws that applied to the Pidyon Haben. But apparently Rebecca's saying that I'm wrong. Wouldn't be the first time.
I only read it once, and I was happy.
I'll have to find out.
Yes. Okay, let's keep plugging away. What is chametz? Which foods are chametz? Reg, is Carrie with you or just you?
It's just me right now.
We'll take it.
Chametz are food products made from wheat, barley, rye, oats, spelt, and their derivatives, which has leavened.
How many grains? That's 5 grains.
That's 5. Sages determine that any flour made from these 5 grains that comes in contact with water or moisture will leaven unless fully baked within 18 minutes.
Great. Jackie?
Okay, what are the prohibitions surrounding chametz on Pesach? So Jews may not own, eat, or benefit from chametz during Pesach, and it applies. The law appears several times. Punishment for it, the divine punishment of kareth or spiritual excision, which is one of the severest levels of punishment in Judaism.
So it's a very big deal. The laws of kashrut are much stricter when it comes to chametz than other things. One of these classic moments, if I ever write a book about my experience, I'm thinking of using this title. When I was a sophomore in college, I went to Rutgers that year, and I was heading into my dorm, or heading out from my dorm, and a woman was heading in, another college kid was heading in, and she asked me, it was Passover, and she asked me the following question. She asked, is clam chowder kosher for Passover? Now, I was taken aback by this question, because clam chowder is not kosher. It is not kosher. Clam is not kosher. But she wasn't asking that question. And in many ways, she was right to ask me the question, because it's one thing if she doesn't keep kosher. Listen, she doesn't keep kosher. But certainly she should try to keep kosher for Passover. right? She understood that there is a level of severity and strictness around Passover that is more important. And even if she's not going to keep kosher, which it would be nice if she would, but she should at least keep kosher for Passover. So I have no idea what clam chowder is. I'm a Jew from Brooklyn who grew up Orthodox. I don't know what a clam chowder is. So does anyone here know if clam chowder is kosher for Passover, even though it's not kosher? Anyone? Let's Google it. What is clam chowder?
I've never made it, but I would guess that it has flour in it to thicken it up.
I've made it before, and it doesn't have flour, but I think it's the most unkosher thing you can have because it has shellfish. The way my grandpa makes it, he puts bacon in it, and it has cream. So it's like pretty much everything treif in one bowl.
And people put crackers in it.
Oh,
yeah,
the crackers
exactly.
then would be a problem.
Yeah, they put like oyster. They're called oyster crackers.
Yeah. Oof. But this just underlines Jackie's point that the prohibition is stricter and we're more careful about Passover than even kashrut itself, normal kashrut. Anyway, did I tell that story once before? Did anyone hear that before? I'm good. I'm not repeating stories. Excellent. Okay, Marvai, we're up to you.
Wait, Rabbi, can I ask a quick question about that?
Please.
Is there actually a halachic basis for that, or is that just cultural practice?
The strictness? Oh, there is. Absolutely, there is. First of all, the prohibition, the punishment is very different. For eating, certainly we don't do corporal punishment today. But according to Torah law, not eating kosher, and this is any kind of kosher, right? So eating pig or shellfish or meat and milk together, any of that stuff, all of that would receive the punishment of lashes, which is like the basic level of punishment. Any kind of prohibition like a lav, lo taseh, a regular prohibition, don't do X, Y, or Z, gets lashes. If someone does it with witnesses getting warned beforehand that they're not allowed to do it, and if they do it, they'll get lashes. If someone does it anyway, brought to court, then lashes would happen. Whereas chametz gets this karet punishment. It's a much more severe, higher level punishment than otherwise. And certainly there are laws that are different. So what can be used for, what can be nullified, right? Are we allowed to make, if let's say a little bit of milk fell in my meat soup, what are the ratio that I can permit it? So it's stricter when it comes to chametz than when it comes to meat and milk. So the point of all this is saying that it's not just the psychotic nature of our Jewish community that has produced this wave, but it is built into the halachic and the Torah system to be much stricter about this than about regular kashrut. Thanks for asking. Marvai?
Sure. So when must you stop eating and owning chametz? So I believe that's the morning before Passover.
Slow down. Which question are you at?
I thought we were on 10.
So
When must we stop eating and owning?
Oh, you're right. Yes. Sorry,
Okay.
I got my questions confused.
Okay, no problem. So it's the morning before Passover, and I believe it's at something like 2 hours before midday, but I looked up the time, and in New York it's 10:36 in the morning when you have to stop eating, and then you have 1 more hour to fully get rid of the rest, so that'd be around 11:45 in the morning.
Now, which website did you use to find this?
That was on Chabad.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's also good. Anyone know what my favorite website is? Anyone know which
forgot.
website I like to use? What?
MyZmanim.org.
MyZmanim.com.
Sorry.
Are you, Rabbi? Are you getting kickbacks for saying this every class?
Wait, what's that?
I don't. I really don't. But I do think it's important. That's funny. No idea. What day is this? This is Wednesday. No, I need to get.
The best part about the site is the towns that scroll down on the bottom.
So you said what time? 10:38. Yes, 10:38 is correct. So it's important to remember that some people will give you the Magen Avram and some people give you the Gra. So we hold by the Gra. So if you're looking at these sheets and you'll see different numbers, you see Magen Avram or the Gra, so we go by the Gra.
What was that website?
myzmanim.com. myzmanim.com. That's myzmanim.com.
All right, thank you.
Zman from time. Myzmanim. Okay, let's keep
Thank
going.
you.
Misato and Gabe, you're up next.
Hey, Rabbi. So Misato's not here.
I had a commission.
So 3 common ways of getting rid of any and all of chametz. So search and destroy. Any area where one can reasonably suspect that chametz might have been brought throughout the year must be thoroughly cleaned. This includes the home, office, cars, garage, etc. Check carefully.
And what does it not include? So what are areas that chametz does not go into?
That chametz does not go into?
Yeah, tell me in your house, where does chametz not go into?
It doesn't go into the bathroom.
Correct. So you do not have to check in the bathroom. If chametz doesn't go into your bathroom, which it shouldn't, because we shouldn't be eating in the bathroom, then you don't have to check your bathroom.
Right. Possibly in your coat closet.
Yep. If you don't eat there, and if it's very unlikely for there to be food in that place, because you never bring food in that place, then you don't have to check that.
Okay.
That's
Clothing
one.
pockets. What?
That's number one. What's number 2?
Okay, number 2. If you can't destroy it, sell it. Chametz that you don't want to destroy and utensils used throughout the year, but you said no utensils, right, Rabbi?
Right, we don't sell the utensils themselves. Does anyone know why we don't sell the utensils themselves?
Rabbi Bogner talked about this last week. What did he say? Oh, because you have to toivel them when you buy them back.
Exactly. So let me ask you all a question. When you go to Bed Bath & Beyond, and you buy some new whatever, a new pot, can you take it home and put it on the stovetop and make a soup? No, you can't. You have to do something first, and that is? Tovel it. You have to take it to a mikvah and dip it in the mikvah, and then you take it out. And that's because it was owned by a non-Jew, and we're changing the ownerships from Jew to non-Jew, or non-Jew to Jew, and then we take back ownership of it. So if you sell the utensils, that means you sold all of your pots and pans to non-Jews. You have to tovel all your stuff again. You don't want to do that. So if you want to sell the chametz that's inside your pots and pans, okay, fine, you can do that. But it's a little excessive anyway.
Rabbi,
assuming you clean your pots and pans.
What if the store owner is Jewish?
So this is a question really for toveling, which is in the kashrut unit. But to answer you very quickly, if everyone in the from when it was made and bought and sold, everyone in that directory was all Jewish, then you would not have to tovel it.
Fair.
Likewise, if you made it yourself, you also don't have to tovel it. Okay, but let's get back to our 3 ways. So 1 is by search and destroy. 2 is by selling to a non-Jew. 3 is by.
Well, can you designate a cabinet that you can like seal off? Is that one way of getting rid of like things that you don't want to? No, because you'd have to sell that, right? That's something.
You can't own it, right? What Jackie said before, you can't own chametz, you can't get benefit from chametz, you can't eat chametz. So even owning chametz, even if it's behind this curtain, don't look here, don't look here. Now, mind you, in our home, growing up, we always put up signs all over our stuff. Now, why did we do that? Because even though we sold our chametz, we wanted to put up signs to remind ourselves, don't take out the dairy chametz dika plate. Don't use the chametz utensils. So we put signs on, they do not use, stay away, and on our pantry, stay away, it's not kosher for Passover. We had all these signs. But that's not going to help you with the 3 prohibitions if you didn't actually sell your chametz or if there's really chametz in there. So what's the third approach? And it's the most important. It's the biblical one. It's from the Torah.
You have to get rid of it. No?
So that's the search and destroy. What did you say, Jackie?
Wasn't this the one Greg brought up earlier?
Which is?
The nullifying.
Exactly. What does that mean?
A declaration, I believe, where the head of the household recites a statement nullifying all chametz remaining in their possession. Should be nullified and considered ownerless as the dust of the earth.
Great. That should be done. And yes.
And then I have a note here on the timing, which is the same timing as we already talked about.
Yes.
You have to do it by.
When the time we have to burn the chametz, the same time we have to declare the chametz null and void and ownerless. Exactly. All 3 are important to do. So make sure you do all 3. In theory, you don't have to sell your chametz if you really get rid of all your chametz, but you have to do the search and destroy and the bittul and the nullification. Those 2 are the most important pieces. Okay, which brings us back to the beginning. Angie and Ben.
We were actually just talking about this one today too and didn't have a clear answer. If we didn't do them, which I'm assuming are the 3 things, what happens after Pesach to the chametz? So the only thing we came up with was that you can't eat it, right? You can't eat it and you have to get rid of it.
Uh-huh. Now this has major ramifications. Because any Jew who owns chametz and doesn't sell it. Do you like my echo? I'm like waiting for the echo to stop. Can you mute yourself a second, Angie?
I'm sorry?
Can you mute yourself? Because I'm getting feedback. Thank you. So any kosher establishment that owns chametz, any Jewish person or Jewish establishment that owns chametz over Pesach, doesn't sell it, doesn't destroy it, doesn't do bittul on it, which is the nullification process, their food cannot be bought from. We cannot use it. It is forbidden to use or get benefit from. So it's worthless, which presents a problem when you want to go shopping after Pesach and you want to go shop at Jewish-owned establishments that haven't taken care of what they needed to take care of. It becomes a bit of a mess, but I have this question later on, so we'll get into it then more in detail. But you are correct, Angie. Ben.
Must we be concerned with crumbs? I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, because I remember a childhood rabbi instructing us that every book had to be taken out of your bookcase and spread
No way! No way! That is, I've told this story in this class before. That is a memory that I have, a vivid memory. We took out every single one of the children's books in my bookshelf. And this was a huge bookshelf, and you have to remember, children's books are much smaller. So that you can fit a lot more of them than you can adult books. And then we would fan them all out. This whole process created such a huge mess, and we as kids would get totally distracted and bored, and we would stop midway. So there was which is basically when every book was on the floor. So every book was on the floor, and then we left, and I don't remember ever putting it back. My parents must have put it back. It was a disaster. There's no reason for this. You do not have to worry about crumbs. You do not have to worry about crumbs. I'll say it one more time. You do not have to worry about crumbs. Listen, if there's a crumb right in front of you, you sweep it up. But you do not have to go crazy. There's no crumbs hiding in books. I mean, and even if there are, they're null and void. That's why you do bittul, right? They're null and void. It's fine. It's fine. You do not have to. We used to move the refrigerator in case something fell behind. Nothing is falling behind the refrigerator. And if it is, it's staying there for the life of the refrigerator. This is why you do bittul. This is not about going crazy. Take what you need to get. Remove the stuff where you find chametz. Get rid of it. Destroy it. Sell it. Do bittul. This is not spring cleaning. This is not, searching for bed bugs. This is. Take it easy, everybody. This is not worrying about crumbs. You don't have to empty out every single drawer and okay, let me dump out the drawer. It's crazy. It's crazy. Just do a good job. Clean your house.
I stand corrected.
Happily so, I imagine. Okay, which dovetails into the next question, number 15. Limor and Damien, you guys always get the complicated ones.
Okay.
Limor said she's going to jump in.
Because I was talking to my mom about it.
We didn't get the answer last night.
No, I did. Because I spoke to my mom about it. I was just because my dad tells Damien, oh, Limor knows everything. You don't have a problem. She knows everything. I'm like, I don't. And so I was telling my mom, there's no way you could know what chametz is spiritually. And she's like, yeah, I know. And so she told me, according to her, it's a symbol for all the negative things in your life, and it can also be a symbol of an idol.
Nice. I mean, listen, this you can take many ways, but one way to think about chametz spiritually is also that what happens to chametz? What happens to dough when it rises is it was flat beforehand, and then it grows and gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it represents, in some ways, our ego, which is inflated. And it's all of these negative characteristics that get inflated in our lives, and we put so much into them. And it could also be an opportunity to focus on those negative characteristics that grow and grow and grow, and it's better to be the simple, the humble, the matzah that's flat. Certainly we can't be nothing, right? We want to stand up for ourselves and have self-confidence, but not to be haughty or arrogant. That's one way of seeing chametz spiritually.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe.
Is there a difference between Pesach cleaning and spring cleaning? So I kind of talked about this before, but Pesach cleaning is specifically to remove chametz and prepare for Passover, and then spring cleaning is more like an annual or seasonal spring thing that people do to clean their house. But this has much more symbolic meaning. This has much more. It's the idea of preparing for Passover, preparing for all the different parts of what you were about to go through before it, making everything kosher, making utensils kosher, dishes kosher. So while it is cleaning, it's not the same thing.
Exactly, and it's a very targeted approach. You have one primary goal in the cleaning, and that is
remove the chametz.
Remove the chametz. So this isn't about reorganizing the sheets or donating things to a clothing drive or whatever. Clearing out the basements because no one's been there in a year, and now we have to get rid of stuff because we want to make it usable. If no one's been there in a year, then you haven't had chametz there. You don't touch the basement for Pesach. So let's keep our eye on the prize and only do what we're after, which is real chametz that might be somewhere. Okay, Eitan.
What are kitniot? This is actually pretty ironic. Kitniot are legumes, and I am actually allergic to legumes.
No way!
Well, some. I'm allergic to peanuts, chickpeas, lentils, and peas.
So it's a good thing you're Ashkenazi, because if you were Sephardic, that would just be a shame.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you why it's still a shame, because I'm probably the only person carrying an Israeli passport that is allergic to hummus.
You told us that a few weeks ago. That's right.
Yeah. So it's still quite a shame, just not around Passover. But during Passover, like you said, Ashkenazi Jews don't eat kidneyot. Sephardic in general do. It's kind of a debate between denominations, and it's always sort of this hot topic of what's kosher and what's not kosher. But in general, kidneyot includes grains, some grains and seeds, but legumes, and then also rice, corn, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, soybeans, peas, lentils, stuff like that. So it just kind of depends on where you come from on whether or not you eat them.
Great. Does anyone want to? I usually go on a rant of some kind over here. Does anyone want to preempt my rant for me?
Is this
Does it have anything to do? I'm wondering.
It's all my proteins.
What?
Yeah.
It's all my proteins.
All your protein. Yeah.
I didn't hear you, Jackie.
All my proteins.
All your proteins, yes. Emily, what were you gonna say?
This is always, I wonder about this every year, being a convert, how to deal with it, because do you get to be Sephardic?
Yeah. You can choose what you're going to be, right? So why not be Sephardic? So
Yeah.
This dovetails nicely into my rant. So why don't you take over my rant?
I would never do such a thing.
Well, it would be very incongruous if you became a Sephardic with your love of Yiddish. So that would just be throw everybody for a loop.
But my first love was Ladino, just to be fair.
That's true. That's true, as we learned last week.
Yeah.
Greg, do you want to give my rant? Do you feel qualified?
I know the outline of your rant, but I don't think I know enough detail.
Let me just go into it. I don't mean to put you guys on the spot. I'm just trying to save you from another Maurice rant. But you don't want to be saved, and you'd like to be tortured, so I'm going to fulfill that desire. So, kidneyot, for some reason, strikes a raw nerve. People, it's shocking. People have no problem putting up with many of the laws that we have, and we have some crazy laws. There's some crazy stuff. But they have no problem with so many of them. You know, they could go through, you're fine, they're fine. Listen, the women sit in the middle of nowhere and they can't see. No big deal. I'm never going to complain about that. Why bother? Kidneyot? Oh, they get on their high horse. And kidneyot, for some reason, and I'll explain my theory as to why, irks people to no end. And they get so mad and frustrated and see the futility and the, I wouldn't say corruption, but the frailty of the halachic system is represented to them by kidneyot, and they get up and they get mad and they get frustrated, and this is the issue that bugs them to no end, and they crave to be Sephardim. Crave to be Sephardim. Now, why? So, what's in their mind? Why do they care about this so much? So, this, in my opinion, is a symbol for them of a law that doesn't need to exist anymore, but does. So, the reason why it did exist is because people either got confused. They were worried people would get confused, because just like you can make bread out of rice flour, you can make bread out of wheat flour. So, if people saw you eating bread, they would think, oh, I can eat bread on Passover, when really your bread is from rice flour or potato flour or whatever, and it's really permitted, no problem. That's one reason why I was confused, why people forbade kidneyot, or another reason why people forbade kidneyot is because people used to store them in the granaries together. So if you had rice, then likely you also were going to be eating grain because they were stored right next to each other, and the sanitary conditions were very different. They didn't have everything separated. People weren't gluten-free back then, so people would just have them all mixed up, and it wasn't safe to eat one because the fear was there. So these are two reasons that don't apply today. They really don't apply today. Everything is so siloed, and they don't apply. And yet we keep kitniot, and this becomes a problem so much for them that they hate Judaism because of kitniot.
I have a question. Oh.
Let me continue my rant. I appreciate your effort to save the class, but let me just finish this part of the rant. So my response, though, my personal response is, like, this is not the hill to die on. It's 8 days. That's it. It's just 8 days. It's okay. We can get through it. There are a lot of other bigger, more important, more value-issued topics that we should be passionate about. We should write about, and it should not be spilled on something as minor as kitniot. Let us focus on the real issues that face Judaism, and not on kitniot. Honestly, it's okay. It's fine. Listen, for those who are vegetarians, I hear you. It's tough. It's tough. And I'm not a vegetarian, so I can't put myself in your shoes, so I don't know. But especially for the meat eaters, like, okay, you'll have a lot of matzah, you'll end up eating more meat. You'll be okay. It's only 8 days. And besides, don't have so much Sephardi envy. There are a lot of issues that Sephardim do that you would not want to do. You would not want to do them if you were, as an Ashkenazi, moving over. You don't realize what you're getting yourself into. So, listen, I love Sephardim. I'm half Sephardic. There are a lot of beautiful customs. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. My best friend, my mom is Sephardi. I'm just saying that that don't make a rash decision because of 8 days of the year. That's my point. Let's tone it down on the kitniot problem. It's really okay. There are bigger fish to fry. Now, what were you going to say, Limor?
Isn't quinoa kosher for Pesach for both Ashkenaz and Sephardic?
So there are those unenlightened Jews, shall we say, who want to forbid quinoa because it is just like kitniot. It would have been forbidden had the Jews of the time in Eastern Europe been to Bolivia. They would have also included quinoa. Now, almost all modern Orthodox Jews do not forbid quinoa as long as it's from a certain kind, a certain packaging. I think like Ancient Harvest is usually the company that is reliable. I think Trader Joe's quinoa comes.
Not always. It depends if they source it from Ancient Harvest.
If they source it from Ancient Harvest, then it's okay.
Not this year.
And the reason for that is because they really don't mix their quinoa with any other substances, and you can trust that it's just quinoa. But there are other granaries that mix process quinoa on the same plant as they do wheat or other of the 5 grains, and it would be a problem to use those kinds of quinoa. But you can research the ones to find the right quinoa, and then yes, absolutely eat quinoa on Passover, and lots of it.
So then, wouldn't that I'm vegetarian? I feel like that's like the loophole for me.
It's not a loophole. It was never forbidden, so you can eat it. Enjoy.
Yeah, but when you can't have rice or corn or like all the other things, it feels like quinoa is a big one.
I hear
quinoa,
you.
Quinoa is actually a vegetable. It's not a grain. But
it has protein. It has protein, which is why vegetarians.
It's a relative of cauliflower, I think. It's like the distant relative of cauliflower, I believe. It's not a grain. It's just a vegetable.
Yeah.
It's like saying you can't have broccoli. Or fruit. Those are all good. So.
Okay, shall we stop here? Okay, I guess we will. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, Rabbi. Good night.
Good night.